Hello, and welcome to another edition of Atlas Information Live. I'm your host, Atlas Alex, and as usual, or as the new protocol is for Atlas Info, I'm posting the link to join in on the conversation on StreamYards. Of course, you're more than welcome to participate in the chat, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But if you have a microphone and a headset, something of that kind, you can join the discussion in audio. Or if you have a webcam or you want to join using your phone, you can do that as well. You can use your smartphone's camera, and just as you would on a Zoom call or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or any other such applications. So the link is on the screen. It's also in the chat if you wish to join in today's conversation. The topic for today was inspired by a experience that I had this week. It was an experience which I don't want you to get the wrong idea, the wrong impression right off the bat. It wasn't any kind of mystical experience or anything of that nature. It was a witnessing of what many of us have witnessed at some point in our life, and what many of us have lived through in one way or another. It was on my afternoon walk. I was coming home, and all of a sudden I heard all this ruckus, this something was going on, and it was on the other side of the building. And it began escalating until it got to the point where I heard screaming, a young woman screaming. And so I was compelled to go over and see what was happening, what was going on. Perhaps there was something I could do. And when I got there, there was a city bus that was parked at the side of the road. And the driver was standing, but he wasn't allowed to intervene. It's the policy of the Guelph Transit Commission. I mean, their bus drivers are not trained to deal with unruly passengers or incidents that are taking place on or off their bus. I mean, I suppose they're trained enough to ask people to get off the bus, and they can do that. But apart from that, that's where their responsibility ends. Their responsibility is for the safety of other passengers. What goes on outside the bus, that's no longer their business. But a number of other people had stopped behind the bus because the bus was holding up traffic, and some of them had gotten out of the cars because of the well, for lack of a better word, the fight that was ensuing. And this confrontation, this conflict, was between a group of 3 girls and a lone fourth young lady. I'm going to call them girls. They weren't girls, but they weren't women either. Okay, let's be honest. These were most likely teenagers, possibly university students. It's so hard to tell these days because the younger generations have been so infantilized, and their childhood has been extended so long, and how they dress and the way they act, and you know, I swear if my mother was still alive, she would be saying, do you know, do these children, do their parents not feed them? Because they all are like it's so hard to find um, young people of any sort of significant stature. Like I'm 6'3". My mother, my late mother was what? She was like what? Maybe not. She was at least 5'9". I don't know why I got into my head that she was 5'11". Certainly as I was a child, and she was not a stick, okay? She was not an advertisement for Ozempic, right? She would not have made one of these so-called influencers, uh, body maxing, whatever influencers on TikTok. No, 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 no. She was a strapping Eastern European woman. She played basketball as a young woman. She was built, and she was athletic, and she was strong, but she was not what you see nowadays. All these young women, not only are they small in stature, but they're they look like a swift breeze will carry them away. I mean, literally, it looks like they'll get knocked over if on a windy day. They and I'm not sure exactly what's behind it, and it may just be confirmation bias, right? So maybe I don't notice the tall ones, the ones who look more substantial, because maybe they look older. Maybe they might only be 16, 18, but maybe they look 25. And so I don't notice them, and I don't consider them to be, of that generation or whatever. But regardless, these three girls were essentially ganging up on this fourth young lady. And they were yelling, they were screaming, they were exchanging insults, and a number of times there was physical contact as well, and and cat fighting, so pulling of hair and all this type of business. When I arrived on the scene, the little gang of three, I guess they decided that this was too much. They had enough, and that they decided to move on. And they left the one young lady alone, and it was then that I had an opportunity to speak to her, and I attempted to engage her in a very calm way, with a calm voice, because she was hysterical. And she was, for lack of a better expression, she was reliving the events that she had just experienced, that she had just been through. She was reliving them. She was caught in a intense but hysterical downward spiral of reinforcement, because there was basically three things she could say. One was, they jumped me. The second thing was, they attacked me, they pulled my hair. And the third thing was expletives and F words related to the first two. And I attempted to soothe her and calm her down. Now, of course, nowadays, under no circumstances can a man physically make contact with a complete stranger, especially not a 53-year-old man putting his hands on a 16, 17-year-old young woman who's freakishly hysterical and unable to say anything but three things. And I mean, literally, she could not speak anything other than they jumped me, they attacked me, they pulled my hair, and F this, F them. And she could also say she could react to any suggestion made to her. She began with, "No, bro, they jumped me." It didn't matter if I was trying to tell her to breathe through the nose, out through the mouth. Relax, they're gone. They can't hurt you anymore. Right? Nobody's going to hurt you. Nobody's going to mess with you anymore. Just relax. "No, bro, they jumped me. They pulled my hair. F this, F that." It didn't matter getting her to count to 10 didn't work. Trying to really calmly and just create a what the young people would call a space of love or a safe space, and make it clear to her that she's not in danger anymore, and that from this point she's now doing this to herself. I would ask her, I say, why are you letting them continue to make you suffer? Because you're doing this to yourself now. You realize that, right? "No, bro, they jumped me. They pulled my hair." And this just kept going on like this. After a while, it was clear that there was nothing I could do for her. She was out of danger, so there was no reason for me to stay. There was absolutely no way I could help her, because in the olden days, when a woman was hysterical, like she was hysterical, all right, or if a man was hysterical, okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. But if a woman was hysterical and unable to grasp, get a handle on herself, get a hold of herself, then someone would basically grab her and shake her or slap her across the face to try to shock her out of the loop that she was caught on. And it really is a loop, a mechanical loop, a program that just keeps running and running and running and running and running. And she can't get off of it. She's trapped inside of that program of being triggered and dwelling on and indulging on what she believes triggered her. And then it kicks in the loop again. But we'll get into more of the metaphysical details of how that works, the metaphysical science and the psychology that is actually playing out there. Not, when I say psychology, I don't mean the psychology of Freud, not even the psychology of Jung. I'm talking about metaphysical psychology, the actual mechanics, the metaphysical science of what was happening in that moment, in that young woman's psychology, that kept her trapped in that, on that treadmill, in that, on the spin cycle, right, of this machine, that she was just caught in that, and she could not get out of those three phrases, those defining phrases. But as I said, in this day and age, there's no way a stranger can lay hands, especially an older man, lay hands on a younger woman, not even to try to help her. And there's absolutely no universe on this earth where shaking a woman or slapping her across the face would be seen in any sort of positive light by anyone. Certainly not a court of law. Right? Oh, but But Your Honor, she was hysterical and I was trying to help her snap out of it. Yeah, that's not going to fly. So I said, well, so be it. She's not in any immediate danger. Just give her time. Sooner or later, eventually she'll run out of steam and she'll cool off, she'll cool down. So I left. And about half an hour later, I noticed her walking past my apartment in the parking lot on her phone, yelling and screaming into the phone. I don't know who was on the other line, but the only three things coming out of her mouth was, they jumped me, they attacked me, they pulled my hair, and F this and F that. So whoever it is she called, right? The algorithm vomiting out these three catchphrases, right? After everybody left, there was no longer an audience at the side of the road. The bus went away. All the other drivers went away. Everybody realized that there's nothing we can do for her. Literally nothing we could do. So we turned and left. Once the cause of her outrage, of her suffering, of her hysteria, realized there was no audience, well, she made a call. She found somebody who would listen to her. But what were they forced to listen to? The three mechanical catchphrases, the three slogans of the event, of the trauma, of the words which became the catchphrases of the trigger. Oh, sorry about that. It seemed like we might have had a glitch in the matrix here. Okay. I mentioned briefly that in the case of men in the olden days, if a man started freaking out that way, then the onus would be on another man to basically come and smack him upside the head, or punch him, or do something to likewise get him to snap out of it. And even though in Hollywood movies and stuff, you see when women are hysterical, you see the man doing whatever he needs to do. In the case of men having a breakdown, like for example, this would happen a lot in high stress situations and times of war and so on, that there would be individuals who just would break down. Now, if the men around him couldn't get him under control, couldn't get him to snap out of it, then of course they would have no choice but to realize that he's beyond helping. But men having like a nervous breakdown or something of that nature, it was very rarely like a hysteria. That's not typical male behavior to behave that way beyond a certain age. 2-year-olds, it's perfectly natural and normal, and in fact commonplace for 2-year-olds to throw temper tantrums. And again, They throw temper tantrums in very public places. There's no point in throwing a temper tantrum if you're alone. If there's nobody there to see it, what's the point? And that's really the crux of the matter here that we're about to get into. Because the cause of such behavior, while we can say it's mechanical in nature, it is, that's true. But it is not altogether unconscious. It has within it a quantity of consciousness that is just enough for it to have enough self-awareness to know what it wants. And this is a very, very, very minute. So it's just enough self-awareness to have the capacity to follow mechanical instructions. And to behave mechanically. But all machines need energy. And what's more, machines need to be observed in order to exist, in order to be. And we know this by virtue of quantum mechanics. Right? In quantum mechanics, you have you have what's known as the observer effect. And the observer effect states that reality, the so-called physical reality that we observe around us, doesn't actually exist in the sense of a enduring three-dimensional material physical matrix. It exists in what they call probability clouds, and that only when we observe does the underlying probability collapse and render that which we experience. So the result of that, the reality of that, is that mechanical nature itself doesn't exist unless it's being observed. And if it doesn't exist, it can't function. And we'll get into this in a little bit more detail in a minute. But first, I want to welcome
Hey.
that's Wolfgang and Murphy.
Hello.
So we're picking up where you left off. Pretty good shit.
Yeah.
Well, we just cut the gist of it, but it's just we're right there.
So just getting into the fact that we're just talking about how you know how terrible twos. I'm getting an echo. Do you guys? Can you guys like maybe turn
Yeah.
down
The gain
or
on, yeah, give me a second.
yeah, because that's really
Yeah, okay, that should be better.
yeah, or you guys had that microphone that you were getting closer to you, and so getting the microphone further away from the speakers.
Hold on, let me just change the gain on this.
Or turn the speakers down.
That would work.
Yeah,
too.
if you turn the speak it's the problem is that the microphone is too close to the speakers, or the speakers are too loud.
Speakers are too loud, I think. I turned it down.
You guys sound fine. Okay.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. If it's bothering anybody in the chat, they'll let us know. They'll the problem is I'm getting feedback, right? So that's not good, right?
All right.
It's my new microphone.
Yeah, he's got a new
Oh,
microphone.
I see. Oh, okay. Yeah, you see, so a new microphone means better microphone. But it's picking everything up better, including the sound that's coming out of the speakers.
There's a place where it mutes it.
Well, I mean, you can't do that because then we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
anyway, while you guys are working on that, on getting that sorted out, like a 2-year-old, I was saying how you'll never see a 2-year-old will never throw a temper tantrum by themselves alone in their room. That's one of the reasons why when you're raising children, if you do have a child who's having a temper tantrum, or they're acting out, that's why sending them to their room is so effective, because once they're there, the cause of their hysteria has no reason to continue acting that way, because it has no audience. There's nobody there to witness it. So it's one of the ways in which you can effectively pull the rug out from under the cause of people being triggered. And this has been proven by quantum physics, by quantum mechanics, right? It's called the observer effect. There is no physical reality. It doesn't exist until it's observed.
Can I say something?
Sure,
what I want to say is, within the realm of mechanical, there's a prequel leading to that higher state, which is that reverberation of exactly what you're saying. That bouncing around pushes it to a place, a possible place of coming into observation of something, right? So there's a door within the mechanical, an exit door. Now, what that 3-year-old child that's having a tantrum doesn't necessarily take the exit door, but it's still learning. Eventually, hopefully, it learns not to have a tantrum, and so it needs to, experience that reverberation of somebody reacting to them, and maybe the rooms, they'll still have their tantrum in their room, but like you said, eventually they stop.
They won't.
Not at all. Okay.
They won't. I'll tell you why. Because I was relaying the story of the young woman and the cat fight. Okay. Yeah. And once I had left, once the bus had left, and once all the other adults who had been attracted to this the situation, once everybody had left and left her alone.
Yes.
Once the audience had gone, the first thing she did is called someone on her smartphone, and then she was pacing up and down the parking lot of my apartment building, right in front of my apartment, back and forth, the entire length of the parking lot for about 45 minutes, yelling and screaming into her phone the 3 catchphrases that were associated with the triggering event, and she was just repeating them over and over and over again in the same way that she was repeating them over and over and over again to me. But what I'm saying is, and this is, we have to understand this about mechanical nature, right? If you think about a machine, but think about think about a very, very simple machine. Let's think, and so simple, in fact,
Yeah.
that let's think of a tool. Think of a hammer, okay? A hammer. And we don't normally think of hammers as machines, but they are machines. They are mechanical devices. And if you think of a hammer, what are the 2 things that a hammer requires in order to function, in order to be?
Right.
The first is energy.
Yeah.
Someone needs to lift the hammer and move
Yeah.
the hammer, right? The
Right.
second thing is attention.
Yes. Yes.
And the attention that gives it its ability to have purpose.
Yes.
Without those 2 things, energy and attention, a hammer doesn't exist. And quantum physics states that it doesn't exist because it only exists as a probability field
Right.
until it is observed, and then it collapses into this thing
Yeah.
that we observe called a hammer.
Okay. Let
Now-
me ask you, if a dog
Yeah, sure.
or an animal went through something like that, how much time would it spend? Does a human being not spend more time? Repeat, repeat, repeat. An animal tends to get upset the same way like the human being. It doesn't think those thoughts, but then, hey, whoops, it goes and does something else. A squirrel comes and boom, it's gone, right? Whereas this person might see a squirrel, it doesn't matter. They're still in that same place. What I'm saying is why? And I'm saying this is an exit possibility, a remote possibility for a way out to someplace else or a way deeper. Both.
So
both directions.
I can answer that. I can answer that. With there's 2 different things at play. The first is animals are innocent.
Yes.
Okay. Our humanity is fallen.
Yeah. That's why it's easier for them. Yes.
Okay, that's number 1. The second thing is, and I learned this as part of my process overcoming epilepsy and dealing with high stress, and when I was being triggered and when I was having like panic attacks and this type of thing, but you know, with epilepsy, it's much more physically embodied and neuropsychologically embodied. It's not so emotional as it is neuropsychological and physical. However, based on that, I went down a rabbit hole and talking about animals, exactly what you're asking. You can observe on the African savanna, okay, an antelope, okay, just got chased down by a lion or a cheetah or some predator, right? And it just barely gets away by the hair on its chinny chin, okay? And it just gets away from the predator. And once it knows that, you know, the predator ran out of steam, right? You know, the predator gave up at the last second or whatever, right? Or the antelope managed to get a good kick on the predator, and the predator said, well, then screw this, I got better things to do. Okay, so then what happens? You can observe that antelope will find a nice safe spot under a shady tree or whatever, and what does it do? It'll start to violently shake, and it shakes and it shakes. It basically activates its own its body kicks on a kind of like a shivering. Okay, just like we
Yeah.
shiver, you know, there when when you're afraid, and you can shiver when you're afraid.
But
That
it's a
is the
release.
built-in mechanism to dissipate the
Dissipate.
built-up heightened negative energy
Yeah.
that came from the traumatic or the near traumatic event
Yeah.
of my life, my, you know, I within his hair breadth of losing its life. Okay,
Yeah.
but now it's safe. Okay, now we can dissipate all of that
Yeah.
heightened energy
Okay.
because it needed that energy to escape.
Yeah. So let me take that to a notch even further.
Sure. Okay.
They're saying that the animal goes into like many cancer cells, which are super cells that gives it this ability, like adrenaline, to just punch out and get away. And so what they're saying is they've done tests now to show that what happens is what you're saying, the dissipation first and then the sleep. They'll sleep,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the body takes those cancer cells, and a fungus is released that eats all the cancer cells, every last one of them. Okay. And then the animal has to go through that like it's a physical kind of healing process, moving from this. Yeah, it's really intense.
It's physical. It's physical. There's a physical manifestation of it, and there's an energetic reality of it. But of course, it has to express in the physical world, because as above, so below. There's no separation between the two. So there has to be a physical expression of what's happening energetically.
So it needs the cancer thing, because what animals get caught? The ones that can't jump to a super cancer state. They're just that minute slower, because they just don't have the ability to activate the body to that degree.
I think that I don't know who you read or were studying that said that the cancer cells make all that possible. I know for a fact that the cancer cells are a result. They're a result. And
well,
because
I don't think the studies are complete, they're just saying they're there, so they must have something to do with it.
Okay,
right?
yeah. So you know what? There's always, in physical science, in materialist science, they always fall into this trap known as the causality trap of correlation. They say, oh, these two things happen at the same time, so this thing must be causing that thing.
And
it's the reverse. It's always energy that causes the material. It's never the reverse.
No, they call it scientific fact. They reduce it, and it's just a theory, right?
Yeah. But you know, but that's very interesting, though. Their observations of this is very telling, and teaches us a lot about why people like my mother, my late mother, who had kidney cancer. Yes. And why did she have kidney cancer? She developed kidney cancer because she was always worried. She was a worrywart, and she was always worried about other people. And the kidneys, what do the kidneys do, right? In the body, the kidneys filter urine, right? The fluids in the body. So they're basically like they're filters, but if you, like any filter, if you overwhelm that filter and you don't give it, like we were talking about high intensity interval training and jogging, and how terrible jogging is for you, because you go for 40 miles, you never give your body a chance to rest and like recover. So if you're on a psychological marathon in your life, and you're a worrywart, and you're always worrying, that kidney gets saturated with that worrying energy. So naturally, what's going to develop? Cancer cells, and they can't get flushed out. They can't get flushed out.
We haven't evolved to be like that, right? We have not evolved to be like that.
No, but nowadays, the world that we live in is this relentless, high stress, high pressure, nonstop, like even the internet or the television, all this. It's just nonstop bombarding us with shit to be afraid of and shit to be worrying about, right? And stuff to be stressed over.
But then we know that that's the obstacle to be overcome, right? So that we can get back to this other place. And we need to rise above it. And like again, I hate that we become too stupid. I don't even like the words anymore. In it, but not of it. We definitely have to still be in it. And so the in it needs to take on a character of discernment. Because you didn't just be in it, right? Because it'll overwhelm us. So there's a growth having to do with the mental discernment process. But at the same time, as that's happening, there's a kind of rising above the whole thing, as if it was not as real as it presents itself. It's still real, but
Exactly.
yes.
Well, you know, the Buddhists say in their language, they say, don't identify and don't become attached.
Yeah, of
Right?
course, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but the key here that we're discussing is that this thing called being triggered
Yeah.
is actually what saved that antelope on the savannah.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
without the triggering of now remember that fear has two modes. Well, not two modes. It has actually over 40 modes. But let's not complicate this. Let's not complicate the picture. Let's keep it really simple, and let's just stick with fight or flight right now.
Right.
Or there's actually we can stick with we'll go to 4: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay. Now freeze is what a possum does.
Right.
Right? It just plays dead. Like, and it literally goes, it literally you ever seen an opossum like get afraid? It literally goes into like a hibernation state and suffers rigor mortis instantly. Instantly, it goes into that state, and you can pick it up. It's like it's dead. It's breathing once every 2 minutes or whatever.
But even an antelope, right, has been known, which is really interesting, right? They've been known to freeze when they're caught. Right, they freeze, and a lot of them have heart attacks before they even any damage is done. They just have a heart attack and die.
Well,
that's another thing that happens, which is really interesting.
There's different. Freeze can take on many different forms, like being frozen in terror, or like deers in headlights.
Yeah.
Deer in headlights. Okay, that's another thing. But generally, but all of this is. It's triggered. It's an immediate, like an on-off switch. And because the primal fight, flight, freeze, or fawn instinct is the primal survival instinct. This is, to mechanical nature, the one half of its single most important algorithm, which is survival. Okay, because in order for it to be, in order for it to exist, it has to keep living.
Yeah, it needs that trigger. Right.
Well, because so it has evolved. If you want to say that, it has evolved the most acute methodology to ensure its survival of the individual, and that's fear. And but fear is instant. That when the threat is acute and sudden, the trigger is right away. Boom. There's no ramp up. It's boom. It's your trigger.
Yeah. So as we're moving beyond the animal and self-realization, we try to distance ourselves from that animal triggering behavior, but we're still kind of moving in and out of that. So what I want to say is, once you reach consciousness to a degree of what you would call a higher dimensional, different laws and rules, you move into the possibility of what I call non-locality, so that now you can do 100% the triggering thing, but not the other. Okay, you can initiate that, and that could always be present. And it's like breathing. I don't have to tell my rib cage to lift itself in order to, so it becomes like that at that level.
Well, fear, nobody
don't
nobody is capable of initiating
overcome.
consciously being triggered. This is an automatic, it's a
Yeah,
completely mechanical automatic response. It's like you know
you can
you
watch
know
it and you can say, I'm, move with
yeah,
it.
but
And
you can't initiate it.
no,
Okay,
I
so
agree.
for
I
like
agree.
the best way, the best analogy to being triggered is the reflex action
Yes,
in your like when you hit your funny bone, or when the
yeah,
doctor taps your kneecap in the right spot and your leg goes boink, right? That's
exactly.
triggered. That's
Yeah.
triggered,
And so there's a
right?
price to pay for that, which is that's at a lower frequency, vibrational frequency, but it doesn't mean it doesn't connect to the highest level,
But it's
right?
but it's effective. It's
Yeah,
effective at the physical material level
yeah,
to because the brain of the physical body is 10,000 times faster than the intellect.
exactly. Yes, yes,
Okay, the heart is
yeah,
10,000 times, it's thousands of times faster than the brain, but the brain in your body is 10,000 times faster than both. That's why
okay,
it is. That's why it is that so many people get so into these extreme sports and
yeah,
things like martial arts, and so, because if you can put yourself in that space and be so completely present in your body, performing such feats of wonder, right? It's like it's almost like these people are like uh practically like superheroes, like the stuff that
right.
they can do with the physical body, right? And like and their reaction time, and I mean, you watch some of these like Olympic skiers, or the people doing the luge down the track. For people who don't understand that sport, they don't realize the micro adjustments that luge sleigh rider athlete is doing, like millions of times a
Right.
second, their body, in order to keep that luge going at 150 kilometers an hour, whatever the speed they're going down that ice, without flipping out of that trench and dying.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like, you want to talk about the razor's edge, right?
yeah, well, I'm saying that I when I did my sports, that's all I was looking for is to be what they call the zone, right? And what I
Yeah.
call when I work with plants, it's like a trancing of a sort, right? You give yourself to it, and you're like almost mindless, but you're not, right? See, you're not. You're still there's still a part of you that's watching, and it's not the same for everybody, right?
Okay. Okay, but the key there is that it's you're not mindless, you're mindful. You're not
Yeah,
thinking, you're
yeah,
conscious. That's
yeah.
the key.
And
But we
you're
call
right.
it, like the Buddhists call that being mindful, right?
Yeah, like
But it's
that's
not you, but you're not thinking, you're not intellectualizing.
no.
But
And here's the
you're
thing.
present and you know what you're doing, or you
Here's
know
the
how you're being done.
yeah. Here's the a priority. People say, does matter precede mind, or like what is it, consciousness, or does consciousness precede matter? Well, consciousness precedes matter. Period. It's inevitable. But that's
Period.
still
Yeah.
the argument that's going on. And as long as you're
Yeah,
arguing
that's
that, you're
that's what they
struggling
call the hard problem in science.
in
And
science.
it's only hard for them because they
Yes,
can't break out of their
exactly.
dogmatic prison, right? That everything springs from matter, and it's exactly the
Yeah.
reverse.
Yeah. So in our conversation where you were saying, it's just a matter of allowing ourselves to be free in that,
Sure.
that all encompassing consciousness that precedes us, that's already there, right? And it's not even remembering, it's just sort of playing and opening yourself more to it. But in the meantime, you're like totally focused in what you're doing here. So that's a beautiful example then of being in it, but not of it.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
But
Yes.
but
Yes.
also, though, this is how many times have when we talk about mastery, right?
Yes.
And everybody, it doesn't matter who you are or what you do, everyone has, on some level, they have an innate longing
Yes.
to master something.
Yes.
And so even if nothing else, if they're working dead end jobs, or they don't like their school, they don't like their family, they don't like their life, or whatever, even these so-called incels, right? These young men with disaffected lives, because they didn't have they didn't, they were raised by a single mother and all these other things. But even them, what do? They'll retreat to their man cave, and they will master a video game, or
Yes.
they will master something else, like a
Yeah.
hobby. And then
Yeah.
you go on YouTube, and you discover these people that like building stuff out of Lego, or they go on to Minecraft, and they will build, like, there are like 14-year-old kids who have, in this virtual world called Minecraft, they have built the Taj Mahal, that's inch to inch, centimeter to centimeter, perfect to the actual Taj Mahal, but they built it in this virtual reality called Minecraft. Why? Because everybody deep down longs to create, longs to achieve, longs
Yeah.
to do something and master something, where they, at the end of it, they can sit back and go and be fulfilled. They can look
Yeah.
at it and say, man, I had a hand in that.
Yeah.
Even if they
So-
don't think I made that or I created that, I had a hand in bringing that into being.
Yes. So
There's nothing else that can fulfill in the same way.
No, and I agree. There are stages, though. I don't know what comes first. First, you find your purpose, then you find your life's work. Once you've gone through those stages, which all can involve mastery, then you come to a place where you go, okay, there's more than this. And then you find a much more, like, the thing is not my advancement, my mastery, but it's kind of like simply making the world a better place, which then you give yourself, and it starts to show you what's next, what your next level is. And that you have to find out. It's not purpose, it's not life's work, it's beyond that.
But the
But
as
a
you
lot,
said,
when you say the gnosis remembering, you connect with it through, also at that point you're able to remember, and you're able to direct along together with it what that is and what that looks like.
the impulse to get to whatever that next level is, and whatever maybe the ultimate level is,
Yes.
like you said, it's baby steps, and it has to start somewhere. But
Yeah,
everybody feels this. There's nobody
I
on
agree.
the planet, except for, like, and you know what, even psychopaths, even
Yes.
narcissists, okay, feel this, but they just express it. Their art form is just, it's just dastardly, or it's, you know what I mean, it's socially
Well,
unacceptable, right, for a serial killer,
but it's
right?
served because they're going to exaggerate whatever it is that's not right through their art. They're going to exaggerate it so that we can say, oh, wow, before we, look what he's creating, and you see perhaps where you don't need to go. He's gone there. I don't need to go there. So humanity as a whole, it's all included. Everybody is included in this development of the greater consciousness, right?
But this is also this impetus, this impulse, this
Yes.
innate impulse to make an impact in the
Yes.
world is also what gets hijacked and
Oh, yeah.
becomes the like we were talking about last week with the billionaire.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's getting it. That's what's getting hijacked. That
Yeah.
energy and that impulse, because coming back to the mechanical nature side of things, if a hammer needs both energy and consciousness to function, then where does it get that energy from, right? Well, it gets it from the carpenter, right? The
Yeah.
person using the hammer. In exactly the same way, the algorithms, the psychological aggregates or the egos, okay,
Yeah.
fear as an algorithm takes the resources, our human resources, but our human resources are our consciousness and our vital energy, our sexual energy.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is what a vampire. This is where the archetype of the vampire comes from.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about something before, and I don't know if we bring it in, but it seems to me like I was seeing being triggered and consciousness itself. They're kind of at opposite ends a little bit. Okay, so if you're very conscious, you're not triggered in that sense. You allow yourself to be moved, but you're more observing yourself, acting properly or in accordance with what needs to be done. So triggering on the pure level of triggering, I would say there's a lot of karma to deal with. Okay, because I feel that when you move to the conscious level, what happens is people notice that their karma, what they have to pay for the action, is much closer, almost immediate, the higher the consciousness. And then I feel there gets to be a place where karma is not necessary because you anticipate and you make the move or you prepay the karma. Okay, I want to go there, so I'm going to pay what I'm going to pay, and then I'm going to harmonize and align with so that I can get there. So you're still like wanting and directing, but you're doing it in a very different way. You're not just taking and then paying later or trying to get away with it. Like I think these powerful people that make millions of dollars, they just keep trying to get away with it and not, get away from karma. But they're getting away from it creates this emptiness and this bigger and bigger and bigger hole that turns them into a vampire. The hole, the emptiness.
Well,
It's a lot. I don't know
if you want to, well, we were talking about this last week. That hole in their heart is their karma.
Yes. Exactly.
But it's the emptiness. It's the debt that they're taking on, the spiritual debt they're taking on for all of their material gain, because this new age bullshit slogan of abundance, and we live in a world of abundance, and it's like they think that like manifesting your desires and manifesting wealth and and building this billion-dollar empire, they think that this is coming out of the ether.
Yes.
Well, guess what? It is coming out of the ether, but you know what that ether is? The foundation of reality, a physical reality. So you're actually siphoning off from the very foundations of reality, and you are generating, you are creating around yourself your own empire.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
The universe is about balance. There's no such thing as you get something for nothing.
No, but so that's what I said. On that, when you get to a level where you say, I'm willing to pay here, what does it require, and how can I serve? It's not for me anymore. And guess what? That's where abundance shows up. Right?
But see, okay.
Well, to a degree, right?
I do not, no one who actually does that, no one processes it in the way that you just described it.
I know.
That is a very human intellectual way of thinking about it.
That's a very Gandalf the Grey place to say it, right?
it's a very it makes it sound like it's a very pragmatic, transactional, prudent way, so that people think, oh, I'm going to be good and I'm going to pay ahead of time because that way I will. That's not. Remember that you cannot actually do good from your intellect or from your mortal self. That's bullshit. You cannot do it. It has to come through you. You have to be done by it. You participate in the doing of it by being one with it. So you will never process it that way. You won't. It just won't process that way.
I 100% agree, and I'm saying this is what it kind of looks like. I'm saying kind of looks like from down here, right? But it's not that, and you're right. It isn't. It's misleading.
But
I feel myself saying being misleading and saying it.
Okay,
but that's what
it's not the. It's not the balance. That's not the problem with how you said it.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. Let me try to give you a practical example, right? Because case studies and real world experience matters more than abstract talking around shit that can't be put into words.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, Master Samael Weor was giving a public talk somewhere in Mexico or somewhere in South America. And this was in a church or a church hall or something of that nature, and there were several hundred people present listening to him giving his talk that evening. And always at the end, he would open up for questions, and sometimes he would people would come to him and ask him for help. And in this particular case, a woman came with her young son who had just died, and she had him in her arms, and she was begging and pleading for Samael to bring him back.
Okay.
And this story I heard from Oscar Euskadigi, who's the head of AJAC. Oscar Euskadigi was one of Samael's disciples. Okay, so he was one of the inner circle around Samael, and he was present to witness Samael do what he needed to do in order to bring the child back from the dead, and he successfully did that. And but the process of doing that was he had to go and negotiate with Anubis and the Lords of Karma. He had to pay the karmic debt that had been the cause of the child's death.
Wow.
And because he had karmic credits, he had in the currency of the supernal world, he had the dharma, if you will, right? He had enough positive karma, he had enough credits to be able to spare, to be able to pay that debt.
Okay.
This is and so this is how he did that. And this is how Jesus,
yes,
and why Jesus went through the crucifixion.
Yes. So let me say,
right?
Curianders, the good guys, shamans, the good guys, South American ones, the Curianders, that they heal with love. They do exactly the same thing. Okay, they have to pay to heal. They have to pay something, and you know, and so they give love, and they heal with love. So you know, so they're also trying to. I don't think they all have what you call the dharma to pay it from there. So they do different things, but basically they're trying to do what you're saying as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's like in the movie Excalibur when Merlin does this magic trick and he gets the king to go and rape the other king's wife or whatever. and he makes him look like the king. He does this magic trick, and then after Merlin has to sleep for a month because he's just like it took everything out of him to do it. But that's more of a magic, more of a black magic, even though kind of a thing that happens, and I think there's a price even there to be paid.
Well, all magic,
Yeah,
all magic. I mean, because magic is really another word for metaphysical science,
yes,
right? Magic is just the word that people use to explain what they cannot understand materially,
yeah.
empirically.
And you're kind
So-
of doing alchemy, and there's a price to be paid for it.
Okay, so yeah, it's alchemy, but there's white and there's black, like you said. There's
Yeah.
white magic and black magic. So
Yeah.
and what that comes down to is it in alignment with the law? In other words, is it in alignment with karma, or
Yes.
is it against karma? Is it because
Exactly.
because if it's not in harmony with the balancing ebb and flow of the universe,
Yes.
then it's interference, and
Yes.
it's resistance, and it's like it's throwing everything off balance.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now everybody has to try to accommodate this black magician's greed, or this person manifesting billions of dollars. They
Yeah.
think that it's coming from a place of abundance, that they're
Yeah.
creating it out of nothing, but it doesn't work that way. It
No.
has to come from somewhere.
I 100% agree. Well, you know what I'm seeing inside what you're saying? The average person down here in the third dimension, who's living in what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, Conan the Barbarian, is living all of that out. That's the dance with the devil that we have to do down here. Right? And that's how we learn about what you're saying. That's how we learn. And we have a choice to go out of harmony, which is fight against nature, and a lot of being younger is dancing with the devil and doing stupid things. Like science says, we learn from our mistakes, which is really dancing with the devil. You have to move and go, okay, we don't have to make all those stupid mistakes anymore. Been there, done that. And I'm going to move into a more harmonious place.
Okay, so
Hopefully.
here's where it's
Hopefully.
important. Here's where it's important to state that we have two natures.
Yes.
And that when we say nature, we have to be really clear, because guess what? The woman, the young woman who was triggered
Yes.
and who was freaking out, she was completely in harmony with her mechanical nature.
Or being possessed, or allowing herself to be.
Well, okay, so this is what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
So when we say in harmony with nature, we have to be very specific which nature we're talking about here.
Yes.
Because there's, like you said, like you always say, there's higher vibrations and lower vibrations, even in
Yes.
ecosystems. There's
Yes.
high order ecosystems, and then there's low order. And so
and the high
so
order,
if you're in a very low vibration,
yes.
you're in mechanical nature,
Right.
right? But then there's up that spectrum, and there's a whole spectrum of frequencies until you get to
Yeah.
a point where you're vibrating at such a high frequency. What you're doing is you're uplifting
Yeah.
your mechanical nature. You are vibrating
Yeah.
with the divine nature, the subtle levels of reality, and that when you do that, that's when you uplift the mechanical, and all of a sudden you're raising up
Yeah.
what was merely mechanical and low vibration. Now you're raising it up and
Yeah.
high vibration. Think of a concert violinist, okay, transforming. Already the guy who crafted the violin, don't get me wrong,
Right.
the guy who
Right.
made the violin already elevated it to a one level, but then the man who plays it, right, elevates it to another level, and then the composer who wrote the music that he's playing elevates it to an even a higher level. So the
Yeah,
the
and, you know,
materialness, the inside that violin now becomes this instrument, right? Literally, we call it that, an instrument of God's voice in the world.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I wanted to describe, because every instrument has got other notes. Some of those notes you're just not going to play because they're going to mess up the harmony that you're creating, right?
Well, of course.
Yeah. And in the ecosystem, you have these malevolent, really dark elements, and what they end up, they're like white blight cells. They clean up all the crap, right? They make trouble, so to speak. Well, in a high order ecosystem, the vibration, the frequency, those guys fall asleep. They go, okay, there's no food, like they just hibernate, and they're kept in a little cage for when something dies, and then when they do, the cage is open. They go out, they clean it, they're put back in their cage. So that's what takes place. So in your orchestra, you can play those notes, but you play them just when they're called on by the conductor to be played.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah. So, but
Beethoven.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you just to use. I'm gonna have parallel analogies here. When you talk ecosystem, I'm gonna continue with the music analogy and just illustrate in music what that was when Beethoven, in one of his symphonies, and don't ask me which one, I think it might have been the fifth, but don't quote me on that. In his sheet music, he calls for cannons, real cannons, to be fired. It's certain. So it's like this is like an example of that, where something as horrific as a cannon. This is an instrument designed to kill people.
Yeah.
Beethoven brings it and elevates it and just says, well, now they don't randomly fire those cannons.
No.
He integrates it into the sheet music exactly when they need to be used, and then they quiet again.
That's a very dramatic example. Couldn't that be the cancer we talked about earlier? Being released.
Well, that's exactly what that. Well,
yes.
but I'm saying is the energy, like the energy of the cannon and the energy that brought to the symphony. Beethoven says, I need this to take the energy of my symphony to where it needs to go, but after it does that, then it needs to die down again. So you can't let it let it run amok.
No, otherwise it can't.
Because then it's like that great line from
you can't let the cancer take over, right, and consume the whole body.
Well, but that's it, right? Like it's what the energies. It's the energies that are required in order to preserve the body. If you allow those programs to keep running and that energy to keep being conditioned to those lower vibrations, to those negative things, then it's going to turn more healthy cells into cancer cells.
Right.
Yeah. Cancer is an effect. Cancer is not a cause, it's an effect. The only thing that cancer causes is your death.
Yeah. So there's this thing called the holy disruptor, the sacred disruptor, right? He fulfills that kind of a mission to actually stimulate, awaken, and to have things move out of their little safety sleepwalking place, right? And those are the cannons. Those are almost like in the system, but sometimes they're covered up, or they're blocked by the winning formula, by the individual. So it takes certain people to be disruptors, to sort of think different, just to be the cannon. Wow.
Okay.
Because then they can enjoy the music, right? The rest of it.
But let's come back to cancer for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Because remember, as above, so below. Okay?
Right.
I want you to let's try to step outside if we can. You know ecosystems, so you will mesh with this, okay? But I want you to try to, just for a moment, comprehend or consider that the cheetah chasing down the antelope is an expression of mechanical nature that wants to kill the antelope, wants to achieve the death of the antelope.
Right.
Okay. Now, the antelope, whose impulse is to live, and the only thing capable of making mechanical nature alive is divine nature.
Right.
So the antelope uses the mechanical reaction to survive, to cheat the cheetah out of a meal, and to make itself be able to be alive. But built into this, mechanical nature has a safeguard, and the safeguard is this: if you are constantly cheating death, and mechanical nature has marked you to be eaten, has marked you for death, and you're constantly cheating and cheating and cheating and cheating, mechanical nature has this fail safe, this backup plan, which is called cancer.
Right.
Because every time you're indulging the fear in order to get away from death, it's producing these cancer cells as a side effect. And if you do this too much, too often, you think you're being clever, you think you're cheating death. But built into mechanical nature, the law of karma is you can't get something for nothing. If you survive imminent death, that means you have a debt that you take on. You owe. The Grim Reaper came for you and you robbed him of your soul. So now he gives you a little bit of cancer and he says, you keep doing this, you keep robbing me, eventually the cancer is going to get you and you can't run away from that.
No, and in the broadest terms, it's called adaptation. That stupid antelope that's always in front of the lion, he's not going to adapt well. He's going to get eaten sooner or later. But then they call it the numbers game, but it's not the numbers game. It's the karma element. It's what you're saying, and it looks like numbers. The odds are, but that's not what it's about.
But this is the issue of the built-in mechanisms for mechanical nature to also achieve its own balancing and to make sure, because it knows that algorithms, mechanical's nature, its purpose is to exist and is to survive. So it's going to do everything in its power to achieve that. So mechanical nature has to build in this fail-safe to make sure that no part of the physical world gets too successful and too powerful and because things can't live forever. They got to be recycled. So if somebody's too good, too clever, it's like you always say, like cleverness. If someone is too clever, and they pride themselves on being so clever, and they got all this food, and guess what? The cancer is going to get them,
or something else. It's when
something else.
Yeah,
or
Cuba,
something else.
And I'm on the road at night, and all of a sudden this little pig runs up. He comes to the road, he stops, and I look him eye to eye. He stops. Just when I get there, boom, he runs under and I go over his head, right? And I'm going, holy shit, this means so much to me because that's always happening. Why did he choose to run just when I got there? He stopped already. You see, that's something unfolding that's fulfilling itself from within that deeper context that you're talking about. That happens to all of us all the time. Human beings do that all the time. Watch me spill my coffee, boom. But that's a little different. But people are always doing what that pig did, right? Is that guilt? Probably tied in with guilt. Maybe
it's possible. There's many different algorithms that run, right? So it could be lots of different reasons. But see, these programs, these I call them algorithms simply because everybody knows that word nowadays because of YouTube and Facebook, and the entire internet runs on these algorithms. They're just little programs, and all they do is they run. And so but the thing about them is, just like that hammer, right?
Yeah.
In order for them to run, they need our consciousness and they need our energy.
Yeah.
And and so when we indulge them, okay, so they will tempt us with these, like for example, the triggering, like the temper tantrum, losing one's temper, blowing up, right, in anger. What that algorithm gives us are the endorphins and the serotonin and the adrenaline and all these neurotransmitters. These are all drugs that are endogenous to the body. The body is capable of generating them, but it's the mechanical algorithm that is infecting the brain and the body, causing it to crank up all the dials. Okay, so so this is how fear, basically we become this is how anger, we become addicted to being angry because of how it makes our body feel in that way. Plus it makes us feel strong and powerful, and also it makes us feel like we can be heard, like we are in control.
Yes.
All of this, that's why anger is born out of fear, with the desire for control or the fear of outcome.
Not only that, but you can feel so strongly about it that you can say it's intuition and I'm right. I'm right. Instead of saying,
oh, okay. So now we're getting into another
part.
There are so many different layers, and this is such a multi-dimensional topic. But that now what you're talking about is how an algorithm will, an ego will will wrap itself around an intuitive knowing.
Yes.
And it will weave its own narrative around that intuitive knowing. So I'm right.
Yeah.
But this is exactly that exploitation that I'm talking about. It's the parasite.
Yes.
Right? It's the parasite. It's that lures you. This is what temptation is. I mean, it's in the Bible, for heaven's sake. All these psychological aggregates tempt us with something. Being triggered is a little different because it's so fast.
Yeah,
okay. So the thing about that is,
all right,
you always say about shifting, right? You have to be able to catch yourself. At the very least, observe yourself and say, oh, okay, you know what? I lost my temper. I flew off the handle. Okay, but now I'm observing myself. I step out of myself. And when you do that, you take the energy away from the ego, so it can't keep screwing with you, basically.
Yeah, and you got to allow yourself to do that, so you can go, cool, look at what I did. Oh, look at me, what I just did, right? Like, in other words, screw me if I can't take a joke, you know? Like, you need some humor there in order to move through it quickly. That's the shifting.
Yeah, if you take yourself too seriously, like I have for so many years, for far too long, then you, what immediately, because remember that did you ever, Wolfgang, did you ever play a game as a kid called King of the Hill?
Yeah, I remember something like that. Yeah.
But do you remember what that game was like? You remember what it was about?
Well, you had to stay there, and then other people will try to pull you off the hill, right? Kind of. No, I don't know the game itself, but
yeah. Okay, so you just described it, right?
Yeah.
It's King of the Hill. Who can stay on top of the hill the longest, right? And everybody's trying to pull you off the hill.
Yeah.
If you're in self-observation and you observe your psychology, okay, you will observe that your egos, okay, plural, you don't have one ego, you have many egos. Yes. They are playing a game of King of the Hill inside of your psychology.
Yes.
But this comes into play when we talk about what you were just talking about how you need to be able to move through it. Because, for example, I don't know if you've ever been tempted to have an extra slice of cheesecake or chocolate cake or ice cream, or like if you've ever been tempted in that way by some food, and then you know you shouldn't, but then in
Yeah.
the end you give in and then you go and have it.
Yeah.
As soon as you've indulged that gluttony, right? That desire for that extra thing, the second you do that, what happens? Another ego takes its place, and usually it's shame. Because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, why the hell did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. Now I feel terrible. I ate that. You know what I mean? Because and so now you're beating yourself up. The shame is taking this opportunity to beat yourself up because you gave into gluttony. But what's actually happening metaphysically is that gluttony wanted you to indulge the cheesecake. That's what it was tempting you with, because
Yeah.
in giving into that, it captured your energy and your consciousness. So
Yeah.
it gorged itself. But
Yeah.
when a hungry animal, after it feeds, what does it do? It goes to sleep.
Yeah.
It becomes weak. It lets its guard down. And then boom, shame knocked it off the top of the pyramid. And now shame is going to want your energy and your consciousness. So now it's telling you how you should feel shitty about yourself and
Yeah.
indulge shame and indulge guilt. And if you observe yourself, there's this never-ending game of King of the Hill playing inside of your head.
It's a good example. Can I give you a movie that really encapsulates that in an incredible way? It was with Jet Li, I believe, and it was called The One. What he had to do in the movie, it was about multiverses, right? And he had to kill all the other guys that were him, and until he was the only one left. Right. Now he had this incredible power, right? So then they got him. Somehow they captured him, the police or whatever, and they sent him to this prison. That's where the King of the Hill, he got on top of the pyramid, and he was hitting one guy and another, like thousands and thousands of people kept running up this hill to get him off the top of the hill. All those guys, those thousands and thousands of guys, were all the egos you're talking about. The movie didn't make it clear because multiverse is horse manure. But you see, the movie came to that point, and that point was like, oh my God, right? That is exactly what you've arrived at, right?
The Matrix did something similar with, but this time it was Neo, right?
Yeah.
Neo, but either way, they copied that from The One, because I can't remember which movie came first, but it's the same allegory, it's the same archetype. The One is the only one inside of us is the being, right? The true self. That's the consciousness, right? And all of the others trying to take that spot are all the egos. So that's what they're represented by. All of the so in our practice of King of the Hill, Benjamin says, the King of the Hill is somewhat the opposite of a Buddha. Well, it's exactly the opposite of being a Buddha. It's exactly the opposite of being awake and conscious, because if there's always an ego at the top of the mountain, your conscious self, your being, the human soul is not in command and at the top of the mountain.
And in this thing with where he ends up, it's all consuming. He just, like, he has to fight. That's all. There's nothing else. He can't do anything else.
Now, if we're talking about movies, there's another movie that really illustrates this really well. It's just a short scene, but do you remember the movie Constantine?
Yes.
With Keanu Reeves? There's a scene where he has to go into hell to retrieve the Spear of Destiny.
Yes. And
there's this beautiful scene, this beautiful shot where he's reaching up, and and there's whole legion of demons all clamoring and clawing, and they're all trying to get the Spear of Destiny.
Yes.
And when you think about what the Spear of Destiny is and what it represents, it is what killed Jesus on the cross.
Right.
It is what we need to die in order so that we can resurrect.
Yeah.
It is the power of rebirth. It is the power of immortality, that of death and rebirth. That's what the spear of destiny, and the word itself, destiny, right?
Yes.
All of our destinies is to transform, transmute, and overcome this mortal material self. But to do
Yes.
that, the mechanicity has to
Yeah.
die. So we need the
Yeah.
spear of destiny to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You know what? I said before, purpose and life's work. What comes
Yeah,
beyond is eventually it is the destiny, and it's very similar in that regard for all of us. But it's unique how we fulfill our destiny. That destiny you're talking about.
I actually just do I have this do I have the animated GIF? I do, don't I? The other
I'm wondering what
the other allegory that works, of course, is Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched the show, but
A little bit,
the Game of
yeah.
Thrones, what was beautiful about the way they did that allegory. Actually, you know what? Let me play this for you really quick, and then I'll give you the Game of Thrones version. Hang on a second. Do I have volume on that? I think it's just okay. So let me just play you this. Let me put it on screen. Add to stage. Okay. So this is that scene from that movie, right?
Yeah.
From Constantine. So we have consciousness and vital energy. So what happens is, let me just take this off screen, right?
Yeah.
We have our many egos, right? Playing
Yeah.
us via King of the Hill. You have, let's say, lust, right? Enslaving our consciousness and consuming our vital energy, right?
Right.
But once lust is satisfied, right, it goes back down. Something else, so it comes in craving and aversion, right? I want this, I don't want that, and then another one will take its place. I'm the greatest, I am the worst, right? And then pride and fear comes along. They will like me if I do this. They all hate me.
Right.
Okay. Right. Anyway, that's it. That's just a very short video. As it was
So
part of
what was
a.
that last thing? Your egos are not yours. What did you just say?
No. Your egos are not your friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah.
But you see, I this image from the movie, right, of the hero trying to get the spear of destiny, and you see all these the demons, right? All the egos are clamoring after him. But it's the same archetype.
Yeah.
What's that?
Do you not see all of those lusts and all of those things as necessary things that need to present themselves? Like, if you don't have lust, then what have you gained, right? Like, why are you here?
Absolutely, but okay, the problem of just saying that,
I know,
is that you end up where the New Agers are.
Yes.
Right? And then they end up in nihilism. Oh, I don't have anything. I don't have to do anything.
No,
I need my ego.
I'm saying it's there in order to transcend it, not to indulge myself. I need, and of course, need to complete it.
This is because you cannot play chess without an opponent.
Right.
And I've said many times, when you play chess, your opponent is your adversary, not your enemy.
Yeah.
Okay. However,
yeah.
However, your opponent, this so-called one opponent you have on the board, your opponent moves his pieces. His pieces behave ruthlessly.
Yes.
So if you in chess, the person you're playing is not your enemy, but But the new ager, the rainbow light bright crowd say, yeah, it's all good. It's all, peace, love, and joy and happiness and so on. It's like, yeah, but he's not your enemy, but he's your adversary, and he's completely having his way with you. Because his pieces are absolutely ruthless, and his pieces will take every single last one of your pieces and put you in checkmate, because that's his job. He's your opponent.
Right.
That's his job. Now you need him, because in order to play the game, you can't play the game without him.
Yeah, and if you want to be safe, you want him to be a nice guy.
But it doesn't matter what he is, nice guy, not nice guy. On the board, he is never going to be a nice guy. His pieces are not going to be nice guys.
But you make yourself believe, no, he'll give me a break. Right?
Like that absolutely drives me batshit crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That people have the ability, the capacity to think that.
I know.
And that's a very, very, very clever trick of ego, because we're talking movies today, it seems. Remember The Usual Suspects? And remember Kaiser Soze in the last line? Remember he said the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist.
Right.
That's what's happening there with the love and light crowd in the new age saying, no, egos are fine. Egos are my friend. I need my egos. Right? That's what's happening. That's the devil convincing them that he doesn't exist.
Yes. Well, there is no good and evil kind of thing,
Yeah, exactly.
And for me to say there's good and evil is kind of like beyond my pay grade, but I would say, yeah, there's dark and there's light, and there's things that go really dark. So maybe they're evil, right? Like,
I feel like, from my perspective, from my point of view, and from my experience, the two best words to describe that dichotomy are selfishness and selflessness.
Yes. Okay, good. Because there's no evil so much, but it does exist in selfishness, right? It does in there exist.
But you see, that's the thing about, because evil is such a strong word that it gives people an out. It gives people an easy out, saying, "Yeah, but I'm just having cheesecake.
Yeah.
That's not evil."
Or it's over there, and I'm not part of that.
Yeah, exactly. But selfishness. Yeah. Okay, what are you doing? Are you being selfish or selfless? Nobody can get away from that. Nobody can run away from that.
Yes.
You can't hide from selfishness or selflessness. Are you who are you putting first? Are you serving or are you taking?
Right.
Are you giving or are you taking?
Yeah.
And to what degree are you self-centered and self-focused, or to what degree are you focusing on others and helping them and what they need? Right? Now, it's the ego, our opponent, our adversary, can be very, very, very subtle and very, very, very clever when it comes to this. And I've experienced this, where he gets in even that giving and that helping, that so-called selflessness. You know how many people use their so-called selflessness as a vehicle to feed their pride?
Oh yeah,
it's commonplace.
Oh yeah.
It's they use it as a winning formula. Exactly.
So when I refer to observing yourself, that's where it needs to go to almost, in order to catch yourself, and you can't control that, so it can only be watching.
Okay, right? But you see, let me. Benjamin has a comment here. He's been waiting, so let me get this really quick. He says, "I completely agree." He says, "That's exactly how I feel whenever I play chess against a high-level computer opponent. It can be absolutely ruthless, but at the same time, it's a great learning experience. and I always come away having learned something new. See,
Yeah.
so you see, Benjamin gets it. You know why? Because he was aware and conscious as he was experiencing it, and he said, yeah, it's painful. It's painful to get slaughtered by the machine, but
Yeah.
you know, it's a great learning tool. Like it's, you know, I learned something from it.
Well, let me say, once you do it enough, it's not so painful, but you keep yourself in that kind of focus,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And then you can progress and take more pain and manage it's not pain, you're growing, right?
Okay, so I meant it from the sense of, from
No,
the
no,
ego's perspective. It doesn't feel good to lose. Nobody likes,
No.
It just doesn't feel good to lose. But if you're detached and you're saying, and you laugh it off, and you say, oh, okay, I got defeated by the fancy toaster again, because that's all a chess computer is. It's a fancy toaster, and you can laugh it off and shrug it off, and that's why what you were saying earlier about laughter is so important, because laughter is to us psychologically what the antelope shivering in the bushes is energetically and physically shaking off the bad mojo, the bad juju from almost being killed by the tiger, right?
Yes.
Or the leopard, right? We have the same thing psychologically. We have to be able to do that. So laughing is a good remedy, right? Because you're laughing, and there's even something called laughter yoga. People practice this. You can practice laughter yoga at the end of the day to help you rid yourself of all the pent up negative energy that you accumulated throughout the day.
So the thing is, you need to give the called processing its moment before you laugh and before you do the humor thing. But
that's true.
What I want to say, that moment can become intensified and shorter. In other words, I got it. I got my lesson. I see clear. You don't have to spend 2 days and 3 days mulling over it, right?
And I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad you said this, because it's really important in the context of what Benjamin is saying here and what you just said, that when we talk about the antelope, you know, shivering in the you know, or laughter to dissipate the negative energy, we are not talking about avoiding the reality and avoiding the experience of negativity.
Right.
Like you just said, you have to be there. You have to digest it consciously. You say, okay, the computer beat me at chess. I'm watching that, and I see that my ego is bruised because it got its ass kicked by a fancy toaster. Okay, I got it. I was too identified and attached to winning the game. I was too attached to the outcome of something so trivial as winning a game. Okay, made that, like you said, I made the connection. I see what happened. I see the dynamic. Now I can let it go.
Okay,
now I can laugh about it, and now I can let it go, because I've digested it and I've extracted the nutrients. Now it can move along.
Can I give it one more caveat? That is, it's not time for the lesson yet. So what you do is you give it an encapsulation, and you know that it will reveal itself when the time comes. And so you just let go already, because you don't have to do it now, right?
That's okay. That's so that aspect of it, we talk about what I was describing was not taking the lesson from it. What I was describing is known as transformation of impressions. What I was talking about, digesting the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the out of the experience, I have to get. Okay. So you know the intestines, right?
Yeah.
We have the stomach, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, but the food we take in. So this is a something called thinking about impressions as food. Okay. Yeah. And what you're talking about is what happens in the small intestine.
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm talking about is consciously paying attention while you're eating, and it's going down into your stomach.
I 100% agree. I only make the distinction to say, let's not get obsessed with what happens in the intestine just right now.
Right. because
Okay.
that, like you said, that's going to happen later.
Yes.
But you can help facilitate that if you
Yeah.
practice something called retrospection meditation or
Yeah.
retrospection contemplation. If nothing else, at the end of a long day,
Yeah.
take some time, draw a nice hot bath,
Yeah.
and soak yourself in the bathtub and replay the events of the day. If you've been
Yeah.
observing yourself and if you've been consciously digesting, taking in moment by moment by moment by moment, transforming those impressions
Yes.
and getting out of it those key nuggets, well, then
Yes.
later in the evening you can meditate or you can sit in your bathtub, and then all of a sudden, as you're just replaying the events, not indulging, not replaying the
Exactly.
emotions, not just observing in your mind's eye in a meditative state,
Yeah.
then your consciousness can do the digestive work that you're talking
Yeah.
about, that small intestine stuff, and extract the lesson and then give you the
Okay.
lesson. You're like, oh
And
shit, that's what I needed to learn.
exactly. And I call that being creative. And I also call that omnitasking, like almost on a higher conscious level. But at the same time, I'm calling it faith. Faith in your ability to achieve that state. Like you do need to have faith, because if you don't, it might not happen so profoundly, for lack of better words. But you cannot, it's not reliable until you can have a kind of confidence in yourself to achieve that.
But it's the confidence. The
Yes.
confidence is in it's in your ability to receive from your
Yes.
higher self, from your divine
Yes.
mother.
Not
It's
from
not,
your
you
ego.
don't do this. The,
No,
the answer doesn't come from you, it comes to you. But so
that's
that's where
why
the faith, that's where faith comes
that's
in.
exactly why I bring up the word faith. It's the absolute necessary ingredient here.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, exactly. Um,
That makes it the word sacred and holy. The holy disruptor guy. There's that space, which is being really directed from your true higher self, right? Which you would call the Christic path, would you not?
um, yes, well, I mean, your innermost intimate Christ, yeah,
Yes. Yes.
who's
Yes.
and your divine mother who's orchestrating all of this to help you make that connection and increase the bandwidth. So in either case,
Perfect.
we're talking about um, uh, widening a space inside of ourselves, because the space of selflessness is a
Yeah.
space of no self. So
And
when you
out
have
there,
less and less of this self that you
yeah.
identify with, you
Yes.
create more space for
Yes.
this love. You're creating a space of love inside of yourself for the
Which
love to flow through you, right?
which is a space like the emptiness space that the bad guys have, only our space. The bigger it gets, the more it communicates, the more information is coming into the space,
The
almost
the
continuously, right?
the the dark path, or the left-hand path, like we were describing yesterday or last week,
Yeah.
was they make that space bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's filled by the forces of mechanical nature, which abhors a
Yes.
vacuum, and it fills it with fear, because
Yes.
it's that emptiness. And
Yes.
so that discomfort, the discomfort of
Yes.
no self. Like, think about this for a second,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every machine, every mechanical thing, what it fears the most is not existing,
Right.
right? So when you have a space of non-existence inside of you, it has to fill it with the only thing it knows that can sustain it, which is more material things, or more like fame, fortune, notoriety, like all of these worldly things. But the thing about it is that once it gets that, it consumes it, because nothing on this plane of reality can persist. Everything is temporary. Nothing really exists. So
Yes.
it's trying to it's like someone who's starving to death trying to eat a diet of McDonald's hamburgers and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue starving to death. There's a Buddhist term called hungry ghosts from Tibetan Buddhism. There's an entire a region of the Bhava Chakra, or the wheel of becoming, or the wheel of samsara, referring to these people who are in that level of hell where they are dying of thirst, but the more water they drink, all the
Yes.
water they drink in the world, the water burns them as it goes to their body, and the water dehydrates them and makes them more thirsty. That's a
Yeah.
hungry ghost. That's
Okay.
an analogy for people with catastrophic addictions, and with people who are on this broken record, this trapped in this program of accumulation, of getting more. Once you get
Yeah.
trapped on that, it's very hard to get
Yeah.
off of that hamster wheel.
Yeah. And they spend all their money and all their time creating a winning formula to make themselves believe that everything is good and they will live forever, right?
I just very briefly, I want to bring this up and show this to you. This, of course, is the thumbnail for today's live stream.
Right. I want Murphy to say a few words too at some point.
Yeah, go ahead, Murphy. Okay, Murphy, why don't you you've been sitting there quiet all this time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to keep up the conversation. So you go do your thing, because
No,
right now,
I feel you thinking. It's you're screaming at me.
I don't know, but I'm looking at the conversation with how much it has to deal with your honesty, right? Which is part of the consciousness telling you something. But in its very basic form, learning how to be honest and learning how to deal with what shows up in there, in that space, will always, in my opinion, lead you to the right place. Even though what you're saying now with the addictions and stuff like that, someone could be honest with themselves and say that I'm addicted and still be addicted, right? So that's also an issue that kind of shows up. And at the same time, though, what gets me and what I'm thinking about is how you're still protected in its sense, no matter what. So being honest with that as well will let you see that you have to go through this, even if it means, 20 years feels like 20 years has gone through your life, and you're like 56 years old, and you're like, ah, shit, the hell did I waste all that time for? It's built in to take care of itself, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. It's more simple than it seems, in my opinion, but I don't know. The way you guys talking about it seems more to it.
Can I ask, could it be like a guardian angel element that you're speaking of? It takes care of you? Something takes care of you.
Right. But the thing is...
Okay, what is that? Like, I don't know what that is. I'm just asking.
See, the issue with the guardian angel thing, and I think there is a guardian angel, but I think the issue with it is that every time it comes up, you can say that the ego comes 10 times harder. Guilt, whatever, all that shit shows up much harder when you say there's a guardian angel.
Yes,
and
I think so too.
And that has to really question someone's dark side, because they're like, well, shit, this is a guardian angel here, but is it really the devil, right? Like, someone can be really effed up that way, right?
Let me ask you, does consciousness not ask you to like leave mommy and daddy and to move beyond the necessity for a guardian angel? Does it not ask that of you to grow up?
Not necessarily, right? Because nature itself has, like, say, a bird or one that needs to fly, right? The mother kicks it off its nest, right? It forces hard for it to leave the nest.
Okay, you're saying that push away from the guardian angel is a mechanical thing, kind of. It's nature.
Yeah, it has a way to have to be mechanical, right? And
that's interesting. I don't know. Attila, what do you think?
Hang on one second. I've just I made the screen go away. I got to find you guys again. Okay.
I mean, this was a good point he made. Like is the guard so called, for lack of better words, guardian angel? Is it pushed off by mechanical nature, or is it also a conscious thing that moves us, frees us from the need of having this so much?
Yeah, I personally. Well, you keep doing your thing. I'll speak. I have a feeling it works together, right? The thing is, as it's like being two sides of the same coin, right? They both as high as the dollar of that coin value goes up. Both sides are also being reinforced.
So let me say one thing. I say there's many things that lead to the same end, and they run parallel. They don't necessarily cross. So they run independent of each other, but they achieve the same end, right?
Yes, and that's where it gets more
difficult.
It's more difficult, and this reason why it exists is because you want to transcend and move past.
Right, and the fact that they're parallel is where the transcendence comes in.
Right.
Where they is because if they cross, there would be no possibility for transcendence because it would just be from one across to the other.
Which is interesting because you know how we talk about how I just mentioned, I guess, guardian angel and how that shows up. I would almost argue a little bit that we're past that point now because we're moving more sophisticated in the sense where that it might exist, but we can't allow it to really be what it is. Because if we keep calling it this thing, then it ends up being not that anymore.
So let me say this: can we be in a kind of limbo interim place where the word guardian angel doesn't work anymore, but we haven't really found the word? We're not there yet to find the word that but we're in transition getting to that. We don't have to always have a word.
No.
I wonder, do we?
No, we don't always have to find a word for what you want to call like your values or.
But we're both saying it's kind of a guardian angel, kind of, which means we're no longer saying it's only that.
Okay. All right.
Right.
My apologies. I've been busy. I've been busier than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. I've been collecting little resources on the fly to answer Murphy's question.
Good.
Because there is an answer, and we have a name. There is a phenomenon.
We're looking for it. We got to the place. We're looking for the answer.
All right. Now, remember, we've been talking a lot today about nature, and we've been talking about the two different natures of nature, right? We've been talking about divine nature. We've been talking about mechanical nature, and Wolfgang has been talking about the disruptor, the disrupting agent, right?
Yeah.
And we've been talking about the adversary, and right. I want to show you why I chose this image for the thumbnail for today. I don't know if you guys paid attention to this thumbnail.
Okay, that's great.
My thumbnails aren't always this profound, but this figure in the middle, her name is Discordia. From Roman mythology, that's Discordia. And can you notice, do you see the horns?
Yeah.
Right? On the top of her head and part of her crown there, she's got these horns and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are like those weird like spiral goat horns. That's like the helmet of Loki.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
That's Discordia. Now she's female, Okay.
Yeah.
And this is where we get the word discord.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why I said mechanics of, I didn't say disharmony, and I didn't say dissension, and I didn't say
No.
chaos. I didn't say anything. I chose the word because this is discordia.
Yes.
Now this is where it's going to get interesting. I think I need my tablet for this because we're going to be writing some words. You guys need to be able to see the words.
Because there is this powerful element of mechanics of it, but there's another element coming from the other side that's drawing that forward.
Okay,
Right.
well, let's not get ahead of ourselves too fast because
I'm asking.
because
Yeah.
no, Wolfgang loves stepping on my toes, right? When I'm in the middle of an explanation, he loves getting to the punchline. It's like I'm trying to tell a joke and he's telling the punchline. It's like, no, let us get there. The journey is half the process. You can't just always want the punchline. Okay, so discordia in Greek is eris.
Yeah.
Iris. Okay. Now, I don't know if that looks familiar to you,
Yeah.
but of course, iris is very close to iris.
Right.
Now,
The eye.
in esotericism, the two paths are the two doctrines are the doctrine of the heart, right? The doctrine of the heart,
Yeah.
and the doctrine of the eye.
Yeah.
The iris relates to the eye. The doctrine of the eye related to the physical eye is also the eye, obviously, because I and I are the same. But it relates to all the opinions, interpretations, all the things that come from outside of us in the world, right? Like we were talking about impressions. The doctrine of the eye is that which we consume. All right. It's that which we take in. Okay. But this is, in other words, this is perception. This is mechanical perception. This is subjective experience.
Right.
Okay. Now, I said this is Greek. Okay. Eris, right? So hang on, let me while I'm juggling windows and stuff to be able to do all this. Hang on a second. Where was So let me just minimize this and it should be there. There it is. Okay. So that's Eris in Greek. Now, I said if it sounds familiar because this is Eros.
Okay.
Okay, this is Eros. Okay, now Eros, I got to bring back my tablet for a second now. This is Eros.
In the middle. Yeah.
No, this is
Oh, I see.
Okay. This is left and this is right.
Okay.
Okay, remember last week, the left-hand path, right-hand path?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so this is Eros, but I'm just want you to look how similar Iris and Eros is. Eros is the god of love.
Okay.
The O, right, is and then this is the I, O 1 and 0, right? But this is Eros is the god of love. And Eros, who does Eros embrace? Who is Eros's lover? This is Eros's lover. You know who that is? Take a wild guess who that might be.
Sophia.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
Isis.
okay. Well, it's Greek mythology. It's Greek mythology now. So,
Isis.
sorry?
Isis.
No, that's Egyptian. Anyway, you're kind of on the right track. So I'm just gonna
Yeah, I forget the goddess of love in
it's Psyche.
Psyche.
Psyche, the
Okay.
god of love, Eros, is in love with Psyche. Eros is the protector of Psyche.
Oh,
Love is the protector of Psyche. And you know what Psyche means? It means soul. It's where we get the
Okay.
word why can I psychology?
yeah, psychology.
I didn't mention this, but I'm in the middle of a 72-hour fast, so I'm running on ketones right now. So if my memory's a little bit, I don't have any carbs in my body. I don't have no sugar for my brain. So if if things like my spelling and stuff don't work, then that's why. Okay, so now, what did we say about Discordia, right? Who is Discordia? Another female goddess, okay? And her name is Discordia, and she's associated with, like I mentioned, Loki. This is the disruptor element.
Right.
This is the god. This is what she does. She's the trickster. She's the one that fucks everything up for the gods. She's the one that sows discord. This is her job. Why? Because secretly, or not so secretly, Eris, is envious of Eros.
Okay.
Okay, she lusts after Eros, right? But she can only, but Eros wants nothing to do with her. So what does she do? She's envious, and she messes with Psyche and all the other gods, and she causes disruption out of spite and out of anger and out of frustration because she sows discord. But especially, she is especially jealous of Psyche, that Eros loves Psyche and protects Psyche, but she wants Eros for herself. She wants that energy. She wants the favor of the gods, but particularly the god of Eros, which is love, which is also the sexual force. Because the sexual force and love cannot be separate. You cannot separate the two. And that sexual force is what love brings to Psyche and guides Psyche and protects Psyche, unless Eris, the forces of discord, the forces of the eye, subjective perception, these are, because the other thing that's Eros is egos. So these are the egos that want to come in and disrupt, sow discord, and mess with the Psyche, and try to make the Psyche so ugly that Eros won't love her anymore. And then Eros will fall in love with Eris. Now, why does this matter, and how is this in any way, shape, or form answering the question that Murphy had about this guardian angel thing? Because both Psyche and Discordia, right? Psyche and Eris, they are both female. They are both feminine. These are the two halves of our nature, right? Mechanical and divine. And these are the two aspects of our divine mother. The divine feminine force, that's an aspect of our innermost being, the source of love inside of us. But our Psyche is feminine. And but in order for that Psyche to be challenged, so love, Eros, can grow for her and protect her, discord has to be there, right? So this is the two natures of divine Mother Nature, divine and mechanical. Because our divine mother, let me just read this to you. Devi or Shakti is the mother of nature. She is nature itself. The whole world is her body. Mountains are her bones. Rivers are her veins. Ocean is her bladder. Sun, moon are her eyes. Wind is her breath. Agni is her mouth. She runs this world show. Shakti is symbolically female, but it is, in reality, neither male nor female. It is only a force which manifests itself in various forms. The 5 elements and their combinations are the external manifestations of the mother. Intelligence, discrimination, psychic power, and will are her internal manifestations. And that's Swami Sivananda. And the reason why I wanted to bring you this and read you this is because I wanted to come to this. This is a visual meme manifestation of the bounty. Now, this is a film. Obviously, you can tell. It starred Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. And of course, it's based on the Mutiny on the Bounty, which is a famous novel that is in fact based on a true story. These were real men. These were not made up characters. The Bounty, the ship, that was the name of the ship, was a real ship. They actually went on this voyage and the mutiny took place. And so when we talk about the character names, okay, Captain William Bligh, Bill, because William, the short form of William is a bill, and Bligh is B-lie. That means a bill is what you call a law before it's introduced. Before it becomes law, it's a bill. A bill is what laws are written on in democracies. So in other words, Bill belie, that means the laws of men belie. Because that's what a bill is.
Right.
The laws of men belie. And what about Christian Fletcher? A Christian is someone who follows Christ. A Fletcher is an old craft. It's an old craftsman. There's not many of them around anymore because this was a job, a master who puts the flights on arrows. He was the one that would take feathers from birds and insert them into arrows to be able to make arrows fly. In other words, Christian Fletcher, someone who follows Christ, the divine light, and puts flights on arrows. Christian Fletcher is the divine law gives flight. We have the laws of men and the divine law. We have a man who follows the divine law, Christian Fletcher, because divine law gives flight. And when you break free, when you give flight, you break the bonds of material, physical earth. Meanwhile, Captain William Bligh is ordering him to follow the law and ordering him to obey and obey and obey. But the whole movie is about the mutiny on the Bounty. You have the divine law, someone who follows Christ, taking flight, escaping the dogmatic, material, empirical laws of men, the laws of the world, the mechanical laws that are trying to hold down the Christian Fletcher. But he wants to take flight. And the only way to do that is to undertake a great rebellion, is to undertake a mutiny.
Isn't that the same as Christ turning the tables in the temples?
This is not only Christ turning, this is Christ turning the tables, but you know what's even bigger? When Christ said, I will tear down this temple of stone, and in 3 days I will build another which is not made of stone, which can never be torn down.
Okay, good. Which
that is the great rebellion. That is the ultimate revolution, the revolution of the consciousness.
And that's
the
where we are now.
Christ.
And that is where
now,
we're I won't go there.
Now, here's the punchline, okay?
Yeah.
Here's the punchline. Let me put this back. You are looking at not a made up story. You are not looking at a mythology. You are looking at history. Real
Yeah.
men had these real names. And by the way, they were sent to the south to the Polynesian islands in the South Pacific to get breadfruit, and the island was called Sri Lanka, which means resplendent island. They were
Okay.
sent to Eden to get bread, the manna from heaven, the manna of Eden.
Right.
So there are so many symbols and divine symbolism and allegories
Yeah.
impregnated. But this is not a novel.
No.
This is
But
not a scripture.
it's
This
the
is
same.
history.
It's the same when I talk about 4 praying mantis forming a perfect square in front of my door when I came that one night. These things happen for real in life, like you're saying, and they mean something, but it don't necessarily at the moment require interpretation. But they lock something in. They are part of something moving forward.
But the point that I'm making
Yes.
here is who or what
Yes.
has the capacity, the ability to write a story, a mythology into the book of life itself, into reality. Who has the ability to conduct and orchestrate that this series of events unfolded the way it did, and that it's so powerful a story? Do you know how many times this novel has been made into movies? There was one starring there's every decade, almost every decade has produced a version of this movie. It just keeps getting updated and updated and updated for new generations, but the story has to be told and told
Yes.
over and over again because of the archetypal truths that are embedded into it, and because this is a history. I never knew this. I never knew this about the Mutiny on the Bounty. I always thought it was just another story. But like Moby Dick, which is also based on a true story,
Yeah.
the Bounty, so many of the Victorian era, Enlightenment era novels are based on actual histories, in the same way that Shakespeare had his plays that were based on histories,
Yeah.
in the same way that scripture is based on history as well.
You know, my question might be this: when you live in a time of honor and principle, right? Could it be that the story within people's lives shows up more dramatically, like that? You know, like in a time we're in where everything is materialistic and it's being reduced, and there is no honor, there is no, then what's the story going to look like, right? Or
It's
is it
gonna
just a matrix within a matrix, right? Another level of illusion.
look, it's not your guardian angel, Murphy. It's your divine mother.
Yeah.
And if the divine mother can orchestrate a story, a real story like Mutiny the Bounty, and she can orchestrate that men be named by their parents decades before they take this journey together, and she named them so that over 100 and some odd 150 years later, watching the movie, can be awoken and have the eyes to see and the ears to hear her fingerprints, the fingerprints of God. But the divine mother, she is God may be the chef, but the divine mother is the cook. Do you know what I mean? She cooks. She's in the Matrix. She's the oracle. You remember? Like there's the architect in the Matrix, but then there's the oracle.
Yeah.
Right? She's the one that does all the orchestrations. And if you've ever watched a woman be able to, and I love this picture of the Divine Mother, if you've ever watched a woman be able to cook on the stove, have a freaking baby nursing at her breast, and she's talking on the phone, men cannot multitask this way. Men are focused, men are direct, men are but women have this ability to do 20 things at once, and they don't get frazzled. That's one of the reasons why they're so scatterbrained when we try to talk to them, and they're all over the place, because that's the womb, right? That's the feminine. That's her nature. That's the body of the Divine Mother. That's the ecosystem. It needs to be. It's infinitely complex, as Wolfgang likes to say.
Right.
A man can't do that. That's why you can't. That's why nobody can understand an ecosystem intellectually. You can't do it.
But you know what? I have to go to that place in order to do what I do with my ecosystem. So it's not like I can't access that.
No, of course not. But we all have the masculine and feminine inside of us.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important for us to be in touch with our Divine Mother and appreciate the incredible strings that she's pulling behind the scenes.
But
not everything that we want, but everything that we need, including all of our tests, our trials, and ordeals, including all the dramas and all the traumas. I mean, like, she was the one that orchestrated, at the end of the day, she was the one that orchestrated Jesus's ministry, including his march to Calvary and his being stabbed by the spear of destiny. That was his own individual Divine Mother making all of that happen.
Yes.
So that he could achieve his destiny.
I was going to say this is a kind of bridging function that she's a bridge of sorts. Now my bridging was always somewhere else, but this is another bridging between, that higher realm and the earthly realm. She's a bridge, and she orchestrates that from one to the other. So there's one other thing I just wanted to say quickly, for both men and women, it's essential that they both have perfectly balanced their masculine and feminine energies. That is the objective, right? So someone could say to me, well, you're very feminine. No, I'm 50% feminine, right? Because but there are too many what you would call toxic males, which women complain about, macho this and macho that, and that's all ego. And women have a similar problem, and what, strangely enough, they're trying to be macho men, and there isn't so much a problem of being overly feminine in women, I don't think.
Because at the end of the day, the Christ is androgynous. So when you say balancing masculine and feminine, the more you are in touch with your higher self, the more it's going to be activating both sides equally, because your innermost intimate Christ is androgynous. The Christ is both. It's not male or female, it's both. Now, I want to mention, just jump on the Benjamin, I see your comment. We'll get to it in a minute. It's just off topic, so we're gonna stay on this for a little bit, and then I'll get to it. The bridge. Do you remember in both Wizard of Oz and in Norse mythology?
Yes.
In Norse mythology, the bridge to Asgard is a rainbow bridge.
Yes.
Okay, and now the rainbow bridge to Asgard is heaven, right? And the rainbow bridge is all the colors, right? That's the divine feminine, right? That's a bridge made up of the whole spectrum of experience and the whole spectrum of manifest, what the light divided into in all of its, right? It's because that's what a spectrum is, right? It's the singular light that's divided into the spectrum. That creates the totality, which then comes back together, and the white light is extracted from it. But it's the formless moving into, through, and out of form.
Okay, so let me ask about this. When you talk about the full spectrum, there's the human full spectrum, and then there's the infinite, the larger full spectrum. The larger full spectrum, we're on a tiny, minute aspect of that spectrum.
But the rainbow is just a representative of that bigger spectrum.
Okay.
Of course,
that's
you
all I
can't
want.
see it with, but that spectrum is still light,
Okay, I just want to make sure, because
right?
does Sophia only pertain to human beings, or does she pertain to the larger universe itself?
It's everything. The Divine
Okay,
Mother is, because remember,
okay, guys,
it's just
that
like,
answers it.
It's both where you're at and where
okay,
you're not.
what's
So
that?
I said it's both where you're at and where you're not, right? It's part of what you're here to do and the things that you haven't come to arrive at yet. So
Yeah,
to
but it's part of the, but again, that bridge. The point is, the bridge to Asgard is a rainbow bridge. It covers the full spectrum of experience, and that's what the Divine Mother is here to help us achieve. Is the
Okay,
spectrum of experience that we need in order to make to do that journey from the world to Asgard.
okay,
Now,
so
this it's the exact same. It's the exact same symbology that
yeah,
exists in the Wizard of Oz,
yeah,
because she's singing the song. Dorothy is singing the song somewhere over the rainbow.
right.
It's the
So let
Rainbow
me,
Bridge,
can I,
but it's the tornado. The
yeah,
tornado is what
yeah,
takes her there.
yeah. The
But
divine
she knows
tornado.
that it's on the other side of the rainbow. She has to go over this bridge, but it's the tornado, right? That starts that process. That's the alm of life. That's the vortex.
Right,
That's the
right,
other aspect of this, because when we talk about spectrum and light, and we talk about frequencies, right?
yeah.
So anyway, that's but again, we
Can
I
I,
don't
can
want
I
to
ask
open up too
one
much
last
of a
question?
different can of worms
No,
here.
but can I ask one last question?
Sure, yeah.
The question is, like, is she bringing us, is consciousness, right? Are there different levels of consciousness? In other words, is there the consciousness of the rainbow, which is the human, or it, like, when we say everything is consciousness, where
hmm
does that rainbow bring us? That really can only bring us within our own ray, what we are here to experience.
Well, we definitely
Our
have.
higher self is here to experience.
So
Or
your
is
higher
higher
self
self
is
in tune with a higher consciousness than that particular one? I don't know if that says it right.
um I have heard much of the people talking about this, how our innermost being, our higher self, is part of a particular ray, and so on and so forth. You know what? The mind is so obsessed with
Yes,
dividing
yes,
and categorizing and saying, no, I'm in a different club than you are, and you can't be a part of
yeah.
my club.
That's why I'm
Okay.
asking this. Yes.
Okay. All roads lead to Rome.
Okay.
Okay. And Rome is the light. That's a quote from Gladiator, right? Rome is the light.
Yes.
So if all roads lead to Rome and Rome is the light, then it doesn't matter what ray you're part of. If you follow that ray back to where you came from, where you end up is going to be one with all the rays.
Right.
That's the whole point, because your innermost intimate Christ might be on one ray in its present journey. It's exploring that ray, and it has to do something associated with that ray. And it might always, in some capacity, have an affinity for that ray, in the same way that, you might always have an affinity for your family, or you might have an affinity for handball or anything else that you've left behind in this life.
But it
But
may also,
eventually,
yeah.
if you return to the Christ and you become one with the Christ, then you
Yes.
become one with a perfect multiple unity, and you are one with every monad who's a part of every ray.
Yes. So in the return to that union, could it not be part of an objective to expand or widen the, the what is seen, or the, in other words, communicate and to incorporate other rays that are around you?
Okay.
So in other words,
Again,
to expand and widen the consciousness or the
okay.
It-
As always,
Yeah.
the answer is yes and no.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Because let me ask you this. Is your reason for going to Rome, is your reason for doing that so that you can go to Rome on a different road? How
No.
many roads can you travel at the same time?
Right.
And why would you embark on one path to getting to Rome so that along the way, what you can look over there and say, oh, the grass is greener over there. I want to go try that road.
Um,
You got me a little confused here. Sorry, I'll put my.
No. You go to Rome because once you're in Rome, because all roads lead to Rome, the next time you leave Rome, you can take whatever road you want.
but
But whatever road you go down, like think about it just very simply and logically. Rome is the center of the world.
no,
You
there's
can't,
no,
if you take the road to Italy, if
yeah,
you take the road to Italy, you can't take the road back from England.
no. Okay, there's no issue with what you're saying. That makes perfect logical sense. But what I'm saying is then, what is it our desire? Okay, it's a desire to communicate and to observe these other perspectives and these other roads that lead to Rome in other people. And once we connect with that, we seem to find a way to be more creative and create novelty in the world and
But
for
that's
ourselves.
but that's simply because you're connect. Okay, see, this is the illusion. Okay,
Yeah.
this is the misperception. This is the misinterpretation of what you're
Okay.
experiencing. Okay,
Yes.
the longing is to be one with the traveler,
Yes.
not their road.
Okay. Okay.
So,
I get it.
so it doesn't matter what road anybody is on, where
Yes.
they're coming from. We're all going
Yeah.
to Rome because all roads lead to Rome. What
Yes.
interests you about watching what they're doing over there is you're not interested in their road. You're
Right.
interested in what they are facing and how they are overcoming the obstacles on their
Yes.
road. And when you see
On their road.
courage and valor and honor, you see
Yeah.
how they're navigating their road, and you
Yes.
can learn from what they're navigating and how they're doing and apply it to your road.
Exactly. Okay. I agree.
But you're
100%.
not walking their road.
No.
And you don't want to walk their road. You chose
Yeah.
this road.
That's perfectly correct, because the more you move into the us conversation or the speaking to the list, so to speak, that's precisely what happens. Precisely. And what it does is it allows you to allow them to be whatever. And that brings you deeper into us conversation. Okay. And there comes more and more and more of an allowing showing up, more and more of you becoming more fluid with many ways to do things that you get more clear on your own path, as a matter of fact, and how you're going to take your path to the next level of expression.
Because what you describe as the us conversation, okay,
Yes.
is you making a direct connection with another pilgrim of Rome.
Yes.
Another person who's making the pilgrimage to Rome, which is the light.
Yes.
And you are also a pilgrim.
Yes.
On that pilgrimage. It's just that you're taking different roads. And believe it or not, there are so many levels and levels and levels and expressions and expressions and expressions of this. If you know about the Big Bang, okay,
Yeah.
some scientists talk about the Big Crunch. Well,
Yeah.
the ancient Hindus in Sanskrit, they had words for these. They were called the Mahamanvantara, okay, the great cosmic outbreath. And at the end of all of the yugas, at the end of the age of the universe, there is the great cosmic in-breath and the great accounting. That's the Mahabharata. When all the monads of every level, from the bottom all the way to the topmost cosmo creators like Oremus, the center of the Milky Way galaxy, the master at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, to Jehovah, who's the master of the sun and our solar system, to Melchizedek, who's the cosmo creator at the center of the earth, and every monad, including you and me and Murphy and everybody else, all gets drawn back into the absolute nothingness, where the great spirit of selflessness, when we all exchange our stories, we all share our stories, and we all revel in, and at that moment, if we can achieve that oneness with the absolute, we will be one with all the experiences and all the experiential knowledge experienced by every monad of the entire universe.
Right.
This is something that your mortal mind don't even try to comprehend what that might be like.
Exactly.
But you want to talk about sharing and knowing and being one, and the us conversation, the Mahabharata is that the entire universe implodes in on itself into nothingness, into the absolute, and then the absolute has like I don't know, an after party.
Yeah. So what
and they share stories
it's
from
really
the previous Mahamantara.
So it's really a process of alignment, right? And alignment can be like a preparation, like the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And alignment is a preparation for your own mortality.
It's the only thing you need to align with.
Yes.
It's not alignment. It's returning to your innermost essence of selflessness.
Well, that's what I mean by alignment. Alignment with that. Yes.
Yeah, alignment is so linear, and
I know. It's just that you could be, thinking about in a different direction, and then you're really not facing the right way, so to speak.
All right, so let me finally get to Benjamin's comment here, because it's been sitting here in the wings waiting for a break in the conversation. He says, interestingly, the hungry ghost Interestingly, the hungry ghost concept reminds me of the parable of the rich man and Lazarus in the Bible. The rich man, suffering after death, desperately begged for a drop of water, but was told that a great chasm separated him from relief. Both stories use the imagery of unfulfilled thirst and craving to illustrate the consequences of attachment and how we live our lives.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, Benjamin. Like I said, Benjamin is very often Johnny on the spot with examples from the Bible.
Yeah.
So it was just another one. But yeah, so we're almost getting on 3 hours here. So it's usually, I like to give people a chance to ask some questions or make comments at the end if they haven't already done so. We don't have too many people tuning in today, which is well, it is what it is.
I was going to say something quickly.
Go ahead. Or Murphy, why don't you go? Why don't you let Murphy say something?
It's okay. I don't have anything to say right now. Just keep going conversation. I add myself in.
Well, let me just make an introduction. Like, I talked to my new born again Christian friend John Zemlo.
Oh yeah,
And he said, "Oh, well, maybe I'll make it today. I'm pretty busy." And I said, and I felt, not yet, not today, but I wanted to let you know that maybe he would be interested next time. Okay.
Sure.
And that might, because he's not stuck in that, but there are elements there. And there's this moving toward more of our conversation. And I mentioned a few things, and he's very interested. Okay. So that might open a bit of a can of worms. I don't know. But I think that, I think it could be interesting. So I'll see if he shows up. But
By the way, I don't know what you guys think about this background. I really like it because it has this like 3D effect going on. It really
yeah.
does look like I'm stuck in this machine. Um,
Or,
I think like me personally,
are you shooting off planet?
no, well, it's not a spaceship. I mean, it's not that, but it looks like I'm trapped in the machine, and I like it because when we're talking about the mechanicity, right, and
Yeah.
being trapped, the one thing I did want to get to, we kind of we glossed it over, is I don't want to leave behind the notion that when we are like that young lady who was having her hysteria and she couldn't
Yeah.
snap out of it.
Yeah.
You know that in English we have the expression, what possessed me to do that?
Right.
Right.
And what possessed me to behave that way? And what possessed me to say that? What possessed me to, right? It's it's like hindsight is 2020. When we're
Yeah.
finally let go, and let's call a spade, when the demon
Yeah.
finally is finished having his way with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's a parasite, it's a vampire, and the vampire allegory, okay, it's sucking your blood. That's the energy, right? That's the lifeblood, but it's the vampire's also seducing you.
Yeah. There's
The
another
vampire
element,
seduces the innocent young woman.
but it does
It's a
something else.
seduction.
If
What's
you
that?
allow, it does something else. If you allow yourself to become comfortable with it, you turn yourself into a prostitute. Okay, you lose that innocence. You lose it at a certain point
Well,
because you're allowing it, and there's not the outrage. I was raped, right? There has to be the outrage.
this
in
is
order
the
to-
thing is, but you see, when that young woman was in her hysteria, she was feeling outrage. But this is how clever that demon is. The
Okay.
demon, because it's discord, right? It's discordia, and
Yeah.
she is messing with her psyche, and
Yes.
by messing with her psyche, she is getting her to focus and project that what's the word, that disgust, what's the word that you used?
Well, I said rape, but
Okay, yeah, but the feeling of, you just said a word about how you should feel about being raped. It's not disgust, you said outrage.
outrage.
Okay,
Yes.
now even it's in the word outrage itself.
Yeah.
It's in the word outrage itself. It gives it away what's happening, right?
Yes.
Because the anger, okay,
Is out.
the demon is having its way with you. It's raping you psychologically within. But it's so clever. It's so clever. Here you are, okay? And the demon, okay, is having his way, right?
Yeah.
Right? He's taking whatever he's taking from you, okay? And what does he do? Through his influence, right? Through his hypnosis. But this is I should have drawn this a better way, right? The downward spiral, okay? That's his tail. The downward spiral he makes you.
You're not showing the
We
drawing.
can't see your drawing.
Oh, you got to tell me that. Okay, all right.
Well, yeah. Okay. We see.
Okay, so the demon is taking what he wants, and then he's hypnotizing you so that here we'll draw. And then what's he doing? So that you, the rage, okay, the
Yeah.
righteous rage, which you should feel towards the rapist,
Yes.
is instead focused out there.
Yeah. Any
Outrage.
Yeah. To
And
any.
it's focused in the case of our young lady, okay, it was focused on what these other 3 young ladies,
Yes.
okay, had done to her, okay,
Yes.
what they had, this demon is
Yeah.
exploiting what the wrong that they had done,
Yes.
And now she is caught, even though they went away. These
Yeah.
women were no longer there, right? The wrong was gone. The cause of the wrong was gone. They had all gone away, these girls.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because this demon had her on this loop going
Yeah.
around and around and around, and then but still casting off all of this outrage towards the phantoms of these women
Yeah.
that were not even there anymore.
Right.
Okay, so
Aren't right here. Let me just say this because I don't know if this is true or not. I get the feeling that the point of outrage is to cast more rage into the world. So whether they're actually physically there or not, it has an external element that sticks out there. So even if the ladies aren't there, for some reason, even if they're gone, they still feel pissed. And if they don't feel pissed, then there's something about them that's shielding them from being pissed. But regardless, it's the outrage puts it out there. And even
Okay.
if someone else unrelated walks by and doesn't see what happened, they still feel it because the rage just wants more rage. So the way to find it is not through the person going in circles and circles because it already milked all that. It just wants to put it out there so other people can feel it, and then they can get more rage out of it because those people are going to feel rage as well. So
okay,
I mean,
so you're okay, so you're taking this to the next level. We can't get into that today, but the where you're taking it, Murphy, you're taking it to the next level that we can't get into today because it's almost 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
But two things that are going on. In the case of this woman, remember I talked about the terrible two and the remember I talked about the temper tantrum, and that the reason you send kids to the room is there's nobody watching. They stop the tantrum because one of the reasons that you're describing for that outrage is because this gets a lot of attention from these other onlookers.
Yes.
Okay, and then the demon is feeding on that attention, right?
Yeah.
He's taking that in as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another aspect. What Murphy is talking about, which is what was happening, the dynamic between these girls, is that the outrage pointed at the girls was triggering them to retaliate.
Yes, that's what
and
I said.
send more rage, but that feeds this demon to become stronger and stronger and stronger. He can throw more outrage, and there's a feedback loop. There's
Exactly.
a feedback loop that feeds on itself.
Yeah.
And we can maybe get into this some more next
Just
week.
briefly, when we first talked about it, that's what I was touching on. So that's right on. Yeah. Next time.
yeah.
So, but you see, that's an ongoing process
Yes.
of triggering each other, and
Yes.
that we didn't get into this today.
No.
But there, just as that young woman had a demon in her, those other three girls had their own demons, and guess what? All
got
four
Yes.
of those demons were on the same team,
Yes.
and they said, "I have an idea. Why
Yeah.
don't you three demons
Yeah.
get your hosts
Exactly.
to come and attack my host, and we'll
Yeah.
have a fun old time, and
Yeah.
then I'll be able to." It's like if you three gang up on
Yeah.
my teenager, then I will be able to get her stuck on a perpetual loop, and then I
Yeah.
will have a good time the rest of the day raping her psychologically.
Isn't it so much like that example of the town in Cuba where they were partying and these two people put on that act like they're having a big fight, and then they make up and everybody in the whole town claps? I mean, it's
Yeah.
in so many ways it's the same thing, right?
All the world's a stage,
Yes.
and we're but players strutting and fretting across the stage. But we're always, we're being manipulated. We're being manipulated, and if we're not being guided
Yeah.
by our innermost being, if we're not
Yep.
following the guidance of our conscience and our intuition, and
Yeah.
doing like then if we're not doing that, then guess what? If we're not at the top of the pyramid holding the spear of destiny, then trust me, one of the demons is,
Yeah.
and then we're at their mercy.
Yeah, but this closes the whole segment really well, right? Where we're right now with where we're at in the conversation. It's a good closing.
But I
It's all a stage, right? And to remember that.
and the this whole thing is that modern psychology has abandoned because of what is it called?
Pharmacology.
Pharmacology, right? Pharmacology. It's now modern psychology is all about, chemicals and chemical imbalances and all this horseshit.
Right.
They abandon the story, the narrative. They abandon the actual dynamic of psychology, the metaphysical reality of psychology.
Well, the Jungian kind of introspection into what's there. It sort of went askew with Freud, who became more of an empiricist.
No, Freud was before Jung. Jung
Yes,
came after Freud.
Yes, well, okay, so but Jung was more an introspective guy, mapping out the things that you're saying, and there'd been a movement away from the Jungian way of looking at things, I think, as well.
No, I think you keep saying it backwards.
Oh, okay.
It was Jung who was moving away from Freud.
Oh yes, I don't mean I'm trying to say we today have moved away from Jung.
Yes, okay, we have moved away from Jung. Yeah, well, not we, but I mean, psychology has because they've been possessed by the pharmaceutical companies.
So here's the thing: we're also beyond Freud, and why? Because Freud is part of a reductionistic entropy, mechanical way of looking at things more so, and it doesn't work anymore. Whereas a Jungian introspective thing still holds weight. Anyway, we don't have to go into
it. Freud was so much closer than modern psychologists are.
Oh yes.
Because at least Freud had things like the Oedipus complex.
Oh, I agree.
And Freud's so-called obsession with sex, he was right about that because all of our egos want the sexual energy.
Yeah.
So he was right about that. Like and Jung took it to another level when he got into his archetypes and everything else. But the problem is that the influence of Ahriman, right, and mechanicity, everything. You want to talk about reductionist? Modern psychology is way more reductionist than Jung and Freud were.
Oh yeah.
Because they still had the narrative. They still had the overarching archetypal narratives. They were looking at universal truths. Modern psychology doesn't look at any of that shit.
Okay,
They're like, chemical imbalances in the brain.
No, listen,
give you a brain scan and I'll give you a prescription.
Listen, you encapsulated it perfectly. I think what I only was going to say, even Freud, who's in that camp of materialist more and reductionist empiricism, even he got left behind, even though he's much closer to the truth. The early forms of empirical science were richer than what we're looking at today. That's all I'm trying to say.
Jung was an esotericist. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jung studied the Eastern philosophies and the Eastern tradition. So he was, but the problem was that the Western world, like Jung was a stranger in a strange land. The Western world didn't know what to make of what he was doing. And they just took what he called psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
They took it and they turned it into some like bubblegum pop psychology version of it. Of you lie on the couch and talk to me and I'll take notes and blah blah blah. And that today it's you tell me what's wrong with you and I write a prescription.
No, look, you're 100% right, but there was a bubble during the time of Nietzsche and Goethe and Hesse, those guys. There was an opening for that, and it got buried again. And Nietzsche phrased it perfectly. Philosophy is dead, right?
Well, there was a time, but there's a reason why they called it the Enlightenment. Okay.
Yeah.
because there was a time, the Enlightenment values, and when Jung, and like you said, Nietzsche, and then there's then Uspensky and
Yeah.
Steiner, and just on and on. All these guys, and Gurdjieff, right? All these guys were coming out of the woodwork, and they were all working at Blavatsky, and
Yeah.
all of this was trying to make. They were trying to rekindle and
Yes.
revitalize the basically gnosis. They were trying to revitalize gnosis in the West, and they were drawing on all these traditions from all over the world, and they were trying to organize it and trying to encapsulate it in something that could be digested in the West. And many did accept it and many did receive it, but the vast majority
No, you're right.
did
None of the French, none of the English philosophies encapsulated it. So it was.
no, the French went postmodern.
Yeah,
And,
but you know what? Who says it perfectly? That's it's called Journey to the East, where all this connection was drawn, and that was who was it? Not Siddhartha, the guy who wrote Steppenwolf. Who was the author again? Hesse.
Yes.
okay,
Hermann Hesse.
Mhm.
He wrote Journey to the East.
Oh,
that's
right.
what he
Okay,
talks
yeah,
about,
mhm.
right? He talks about Nietzsche, all these guys, and Dostoevsky, all those guys you mentioned. They're drawing from this other place, right? This knowledge base, and then where was it? The Himalayas. It was all this kind of stuff that was out there.
But and that's actually one of the you notice that in the Victorian era, that's when the whole adventure novel took off, and you had the whole Alan Quatermain and you know King Solomon's Mines and all this kind of stuff. The problem was they were drawing on all of these ancient mythologies and religions and traditions, but the publishing companies, the way they marketed them, sold them as basically entertainment, like pop literature, like pulp literature, pulp stories, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And unfortunately, but the same thing happened to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars is high mythology that everybody just treats like an entertainment franchise.
Right. No, I know.
So that always happens. But listen, okay, I don't always have a 3-hour hard deadline by any stretch of the imagination. I've gone longer in the past, but I want to be mindful that we have come to a place where I think is a good time to break. Because if we don't, we're going to be here for 5 hours.
No, it's also not necessary. We did fine today. We did, I think, really well.
Yeah, it's all right.
One thing Benjamin said is about my background. He says, it looks good. It appears to be inside a CNC machine. That's exactly what it is. CNC machine. Benjamin also says, thank you, gentlemen, for the very enlightening discussion. I always learn something valuable from your insights and perspectives. Wishing you all a blessed and wonderful week ahead. And thank you, Benjamin, for being here as always. Thank you for your input and your
tuning into his energies as well, even though
I'm trying to learn. It's a journey as much for me as it is for you.
Okay, so listen, thank you guys again for being here, as always, and have a great week. I hope to see everyone next week, and until then, as always, inferential peace. Take care, everyone.
All right, take care.
All right.
Bye.